Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Kuribo deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one, guys, because this deck is absolutely crazy that you can build a deck based around the entire Kuribo archetype. It's a super fun deck to be able to play around with, and it's basically hand traps the deck because Kuribo is the original hand trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's a really amazing deck that can basically summon out 3 Link Kuribos in a turn, can summon out some really powerful boss monsters like Blackluster Soldier, Envoy at the beginning, and can even get you to Link climb into some amazing plays with stuff like Multiply. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name searched every single video, getting a signed card to the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. And you can't play the deck without the tokens. I guarantee you're going to need tokens if you play this deck. So for the first 3 cards we're going to be playing is 3 copies of Kuribo. So Kuribo is the most pivotal card in the entire deck, and it has the effect that during damage calculation, if your opponent's monster attacks, quick effect, you can discard this card and you take no battle damage from that battle, which is pretty good. I like that effect. It helps out in the deck a lot. It comes up a lot more than you would imagine in this deck, but mainly you're trying to normal summon it to your side of the field with stuff like the Flute of Summoning Kuribo, and then use Multiply to get a whole bunch of tokens on your side of the field as well. We then play 3 copies of Winged Kuribo, which I play the Winking Winged Kuribo because I just love the artwork of this card. I think it's so cute. But if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, then for the rest of the turn, you take no battle damage, which is a little bit better than the regular Kuribo, especially if you just set this card face down and then your opponent attacks into it. You're going to take no damage for the rest of the turn. So it basically gives you another turn to kind of stack some plays. We then play 3 copies of Kuriboh. Kuriboh is really a great card because at the end of the battle phase, you can discard this card and then target 1 monster in your graveyard that was destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard this turn and special summon it. And then when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target any number of Kuriboh monsters in the graveyard and special summon them, which is really, really great. I love the effect of this card that just helps you swarm the field to get a bunch of monsters back on the field to help you Link climb. We then play 2 copies of Rainbow Kuribo. So Rainbow Kuribo is a very interesting card as well, that when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can target the attacking monster equipped with this card, and if you do, that monster cannot attack. And then when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack while this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field, which is pretty good just to be able to give you additional protection from attacks, and it's just an overall really good card. We then play 2 copies of Real-In Kuribo, that if this card is distributed, you get to draw a card, and if a monster would be destroyed by battle, you manage to card from your graveyard instead to be able to protect your monsters. We play for the one-ofs. I'm playing a single copy of Sphere Kuribo. Sphere Kuribo is really good because if an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, change the attack target to defense, or change the attacking monster to defense position, which helps out the deck a lot to be able to just change something in defense position to kind of help you from getting attacked. And then I play a single copy of Clear Kuribo. Clear Kuribo has the ability that when your opponent activates a monster effect that would inflict battle damage or inflict damage to you, quick effect, you can discard this card, negate the activation, and then when a monster declares a direct attack, you can manage this card from your graveyard to draw a card, and if it's a monster, you can special summon it, then change the attack target to that monster instead, which is still, again, a pretty good effect just to be able to get you an additional monster on your side of the field. I then play a single copy of Perform Pal Kuribo. Kuribo is pretty good too. It's an okay card. I just like it as a one-of in this deck. But what it does is when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, change that attack target to this card, and then proceed to damage calculation, and if you would take any battle damage from that battle, you gain that much life instead. So basically, you don't take any damage, you actually gain life points instead of losing them, and this card was actually the card that came in the advent calendar for Christmas time, so it was a really cool card for the holidays, and I picked up like 3 of the calendar, which is how I actually built this entire deck. We then play 3 copies of Blackluster Soldier. Blackluster Soldier is kind of like the boss of the entire deck, that you just banish a light and dark from the graveyard to be able to special summon it to your side of the field. And then it also has the ability that you can either basically attack with this card twice if it destroys a monster by battle, or you can banish a card that's faceable on the field, but it can't attack the turn you activate that effect, which is a really great effect just to be able to attack twice into a monster, or be able to just kind of OTK with the double attack. We then play the same copy of Chaos Dragon Levineer. Chaos Dragon Levineer is a one-of. You banish 3 light or 3 darks, or a combination of light and dark, and depending on what you banish, you gain effects after you special summon this to the field. If you only banish light for the summon, you get to special summon a monster from the grave in defense. If you only banish dark, you get to shuffle one random card from your opponent's hand into the deck. Or if you banish light and dark, you destroy 2 cards on the field. So it's pretty good. We then play 3 copies of one of the other boss monsters, which you guys might be surprised about as a boss monster in this deck, and it's actually 3 copies of Eater of Millions. Eater of Millions is a great boss in this deck, and you look at this card and go, wow, that thing is kind of puny, but it's really not. Like, this card is really, really good in this deck, because you don't super care about the extra deck except for your Link Kuribos and a couple of Link monsters in the extra deck. But what it does is it cannot be normal summon or set, it must be special summon from your hand by banishing 5 or more cards from your hand, field, and or extra deck face down, and it cannot be special by other ways, and it gains 100 attack and defense for each face down banished card. And this card cannot be used as the material for a fusion, synchro, or XZ summon. And then once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster face down, which gives it an additional 100 attack points, which is pretty good. And it can banish 1 monster per turn when it battles, which is really cool. We then play for the final 3 monsters. We're playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom. The 3 Ash Blossom is basically just here to stop your opponent from all sorts of shenanigans against you, and it just helps out the deck a lot to be able to discard this and basically say, nope, you can't do anything with that. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is basically here just to basically throw against your opponent to send stuff like your Kree Reborn to the graveyard to be able to have a monster in graveyard to go off with its effects. We then play a single copy of 1 for 1 because all of your Kuribos are level 1, so it's really easy to summon. We play a single copy of Instant Fusion. The Instant Fusion comes in really, really, really handy in this deck because basically what you're doing with the Instant Fusion is bringing out your copy of your the 1 copy of Millenniumize Restrict, which Millenniumize Restrict in this deck is really good because it's going to get you an additional negate on your side of the field and just overall helps the deck out a lot to be able to summon Millenniumize to your field and be able to just stop an opponent's monster effect. We then play 2 copies of Potted Desires. The Potted Desires are here because you can banish 10 off the top of your deck and then draw 2, which is pretty helpful in this deck to be able to just instantly get those effects off to basically stop your opponent or basically get you some extending plays, which is really, really helpful, especially in a deck like this, to be able to go off into more plays and draw more cards. There's not a particular card in this deck that if you banish it, it's going to be the end of the world either. We then play 3 copies of the Flute of Summoning Kuribo. The Flute of Summoning Kuribo is probably one of the best cards in the entire deck because it lets you take a Kuribo or a Wing Kuribo from your deck and either add it to your hand or instantly special summon it to your side of the field, which helps out the deck a lot. And comboed with the next card, which is Multiply. Multiply lets you treat any Kuribo monsters and then use or any Kuribo to special summon as many Kuribo tokens to your side of the field as possible in defense position, but they can't be tributed for a tribute summon. But we don't really care. We're just going to basically summon them to our side of the field to make Link 4s, to make into different Link monsters, and be able to Link climb into some really, really amazing plays. It helps out the deck a lot to be able to go into some of those plays because you can just get some insanely good boards with your copy of Multiply. Like, this card literally gives you 5 tokens. It's like Scapegoats, but on diesel fuel, which is insanely good. This card is so crazy to be able to drop in this deck. And then we play 3 copies of Chaos Space. Chaos Space is also very good in the deck. It's not super necessary to play Chaos Space. It just helps you get to your Blackluster Soldier a little bit easier. And basically what it does is you send either a light or a dark monster from your hand to the graveyard, and then you add from your deck to your hand a monster that specifically is a light or a dark of the corresponding attribute. So if you discard a light, you add a dark. If you discard a dark, you add a light, which helps out the deck a lot to be able to search the Blackluster Soldier, with the Kuribos being dark and Blackluster Soldier being a light. It's really easy to search that, but that's also why you play the Chaos Dragon Levinair, is because Chaos Dragon Levinair can also be searched from the deck by discarding a light monster instead, because your copy of Chaos Dragon Levinair is actually dark. So you have all these different attributes in the deck that help you out a lot to be able to go into all those really good plays. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Link Kuriboh. Link Kuriboh is single-handedly the most important card in the entire extra deck because Link Kuriboh has the ability that you just use any level 1 monster to summon it to your side of the field. And then once you summon this card to your side of the field, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you contribute this monster, change that opponent's monster attack to 0 until the end phase of the turn. And if this card is in your graveyard, you contribute any level 1 to special summon this card back. Now, I will say you can use the copies of the Kuribo tokens, or the, not the Kuribo tokens, you might as well be Kuribo tokens, but you can use the Kuribo tokens that you special summon off of Multiply to be able to link these away because they're level 1 on your side of the field to go into as many of these as you possibly can, which is really nice. We play a single copy of Relinquished Anima, again, really easy to summon to your side of the field. It has the ability that you can target one face-up monster this card points to, equip that target face-up to this card, maximum 1, and this card gains attack equal to that monster's attack that's equipped to it. We then play a single copy of IP Masquerena. The IP Masquerena is basically here because it can go with the tokens in this card because it's 2 non-link monsters. So it's pretty easy to summon to your side of the field this card, and then go into some really crazy cool plays. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps, 1 copy of Unicorn to bounce stuff off the field, so this card comes in pretty handy in the deck too. 1 copy of Access Code Talker. This doesn't have to be an Access Code Talker if you don't have it. You can play something like a Boral Sword or a Boral Load if you want to play that instead. If you want to go that route, it's totally okay. It's not going to be the end-all be-all of the deck if you don't have it. We then play a single copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax, which I will say is pretty much the boss of the entire extra deck. The Crusadia Avermax, basically what it does on your side of the field is you're going to go into this card with an IP and then 2 copies of Kuribo to be able to summon this card to your side of the field. It's very easy to summon, or you can use a Nightmare monster plus a copy of IP to go into this card, and you summon this a lot more than you summon the access code, which is why you could feasibly play 2 copies of this over the access code if you absolutely had to. We then play a single copy of Assembled Nightingale because it's easy to summon Assembled Nightingale to go into Zeus. 1 copy of the Bird XZ. Basically what this card does is unaffected by other cards' effects, and then once per turn you can detach 2 materials from this card for the rest of the turn. This card cannot be destroyed by battle, and also you take no battle or damage from attacks involving this card, so it can help you stall out for a turn, which helps out a lot. We play a single copy of number 31 and number 13, which they basically have the exact same effect that is basically this. Then once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material from this card, change all monsters your opponent controls to face of attack position, and also all monsters your opponent controls must attack if able. And then when you control the opposite number, so if you control 31, if you control 13, and if you control 13, you have to control number 31 to activate these effects. That this card cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effect while it has XZ materials, and your opponent takes any battle damage from battles involving this card. They both share the exact same effects. They're pretty much the exact same monster, except you have to have the other one to be able to activate their effects. We then play a single copy of Zeus because it blows board really, really easily, and it's really easy to summon with your Assembled Nightingale and your other Bird XZ. You can honestly not play this card if you don't want to and play another Link monster, like a copy of Boral Load or Boral Sword or Cerberus if you want to go that route. And then you play for your only copy of your instant fusion target. I just play a single copy of Millennium Eyes. You can, if you want to drop the copy of the Bird XZ, you can drop that if you want to be able to throw into the deck a copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict as well. That is another option for you guys if you want to go that route. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really fun deck to play around with, and it's very budget, actually, to play with this deck, except for maybe the Zeus and the copy of the access code, which can be dropped out of the deck if you want to for those cards that I did suggest to you guys, which is the Thousand Eyes, and maybe a copy of Boral Sword is another option for you guys. And I will say, I don't know if Chaos Space will get hit on the list, but if it does, you can drop it for like an Upstart Goblin or any other Kuribo monster that you want to play. It's totally up to you guys. It's not very necessary to have to play it, but it's there just in case you need it. Oh, and don't forget to play your 5 Kuribo Brother tokens, which eventually we are going to get the Kuribo Brothers in the TCG, and I definitely will be doing a updated version of Kuribos when we do get those, so be on the lookout for that. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.